I'm glad you're here today because your story is absolutely phenomenal. We're talking about sex trafficking today, and you actually were a victim and a survivor of it.
Yes, I was.
Tell us exactly what is sex trafficking for people that are watching saying, wait a second, what are they talking about? What exactly is it?
Sex trafficking, at first when you hear that, Whitney, of course you think of international trafficking and things that happen in other countries, but it's happening right here in Chicago, domestically, because trafficking doesn't have to involve movement. You can sell a human being and place and never move them. So it does.
It happens right here in Chicagoland, is what we're trying to say.
Exactly.
So tell us exactly how it all happened for you. It started with prostitution.
Well, no, it started when I was a little girl with child molestation. And my mother died when I was 6 months old. I was raised by a grandmother, and she couldn't be there all the time, and some things were going on in her life, but I was molested. And by the time I was 14 years old, I had my first child, and by the time 15, I had 2 children.
Wow.
And I went out to make a life for my children. I thought that because of the books I read, because of the stories that I saw in the media, that there are women who made money through their bodies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Why prostitution? Was it something that...
maybe it was because I knew that but by that, even at an early age like that, that's how men had come to me. I mean, it seemed like that's what they wanted. Of course, it lowered my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And made me devalue what was so precious, that, you know, of who I was.
Right.
And I felt that I could make money off of that because now I had heroes. I had the Vanessa Del Rio and the Xavier Hollanders of Hustler magazine. These stories infatuated me because these women said they made money through their bodies.
Wow. And so that kind of was, so you went out to the streets, you were doing, was it in Chicago that you were?
It was in Chicago.
Was it easy?
No.
It wasn't.
That's on the corner of Clark and Division on Rush Street. Let me say something, prostitution is not easy. Prostitution is not sex. Prostitution is not anything that you think that, oh, it should be legal, it's a great thing, it's just sex. All right, nobody's intimate, nobody is buying you flowers, nobody's coming to your doorstep, nobody's saying nice things to you, okay?
So it's not as glamorous as it looks.
No, it's not.
Wow, so you fell into prostitution. What changed and kicked it over to sex trafficking?
I was trafficked by 2 pimps. After the second time that I went down there, I was hit in the head and threw into a trunk, and I was trafficked out of Chicago into Indiana, Iowa, some other states by these 2 pimps, and I was kept for 6 months.
Wow, so you were on the streets one day, hit in the head, thrown in a trunk, and had no idea where you were going.
No idea at all.
And so from there, you were basically under their control.
Absolutely. They brainwashed me. They pulled guns to my head. You know, and this was in between of them forcing me to go out and make money. And
now,
they continued to brainwash and put fear into me in order to control me.
Is this something that you had ever heard of whenever you thought of going into prostitution?
Absolutely not.
So no, you never...
I wasn't prepared for any of this. I wasn't prepared for traffickers. I wasn't prepared for pimps. I wasn't prepared for any of the things that happened to me. I didn't know that if you worked in a escort service or at a strip club, I didn't know that people got 40 to 50% of your cut of your money. I didn't even know those things. I thought that these people had opened these places because, you know, this is how it happened.
It's how you make a living.
Exactly, but I didn't know that any type of entity of prostitution you worked in, whether it was phone sex, escort, or anything, that you had to pay the people who had the establishment a cut and percentage of your money.
Wow.
And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
They think, well, she's making all of this money. No. Who's really making the money?
Right. So now you're in a van, these guys are brainwashing, you said guns to your head at one point, and they were taking you where?
They took me to truck stops, and they worked me in truck stops, and by them being 2 of them, they would watch me, but understand, after a little while, they didn't probably have to watch me that closely because I was so intimidated, so afraid.
Wow.
By the things that they were doing to me at night, raping me.
Oh my goodness.
Putting guns to my head.
So at that point,
beating me up if I didn't make enough money. So those type of things kind of kept me under control.
Absolutely. I think anybody afraid for their life does what they need to do to survive.
And mind you, I was a 15-year-old girl.
Absolutely. I would definitely a little girl. When I think 15, I think maybe still playing with Barbies at that point. You know, I don't know. So you're in sex trafficking. You're in the thick of it. How did you get away?
Well, they picked up another girl, another young girl, and they started paying more attention to her because, of course, they had to now inflict the same type of brainwashing and intimidation on her as they did me, and they kind of lost sight of what I was doing, and I was able to get away. It was hard for me to leave.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't want to leave her there, but I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't chance it. I had to get away
So you were
myself.
able to get away. Did you get back to your kids?
I did. I get back.
Ah, you got
my
back to your
And I
kids.
got back to the grandmother and the home life, but also understand, but by then, a lot of things had happened. I wasn't the same person anymore.
Life
And
experiences change us,
it was
and that's a
pretty-
big one.
Yeah, it was pretty easy for me to get exploited again.
Right.
And I spent 25 years in prostitution before I got out.
Oh wow! So you went back into it, but now you are doing anything but that. Tell us about
I have my organization called the
Yeah.
Dreamcatcher Foundation, which was founded by Stephanie Daniels Wilson and myself, and we work with young girls from 12 to 25 and help them escape the lifestyles of prostitution. We work with a prevention and intervention type
I'm
thing.
so
with
proud
that.
of you.
And then what makes our agency so much different than most agencies, it's survivor-led. When a girl comes to our
Absolutely.
agency, they know we understand. We know that we've been where they've been, and they trust us and the knowledge that we have.
Right, absolutely. I think that's amazing. And you've been there, you've done it, you understand, and you're making a
Absolutely.
difference out of your story. Thank you so much.